What really happened over the airspace over El Paso? This is weird. And I report on it yesterday here at Leak Project. We were one of the first alternative media platforms to report on it. There were some before us, but I was on it. And then today I was going to do a follow-up with updates, and I'm going to in a moment share with you the latest that we know. A couple of hours ago, I'm working out on the elliptical, and I've got this new, I'm doing this higher resistance on the elliptical on the days that I don't ride my bike. And it's actually, I'm fascinated. So I've been studying this thing called Zone 2. There's different zones in your workouts, and like Zone 2 is great for endurance. So it's improved my speeds on my bike by quite a bit in a short amount of time. But anyway, so I'm working out on the elliptical, I'm sweating. I get a message from Lee Wilbarger. And Lee Wilbarger is an inventor. He's also a military contractor, defense contractor. He's got several patents. He's a personal friend of mine. He's done a lot of work with the military and like with different technologies and communication devices, etc. And so he knows his stuff. He's got a lot of connections. And he says, Rex, call me. So I finish my workout, give him a call. He goes, what do you know about the airspace that got shut down over El Paso yesterday? And I said, well, I don't know anything. I've read several reports that are conflicting reports about what happened over the airspace. One was that Cartel drones were flying over sensitive locations, and they picked up this new laser technology system, and they shot some of the drones down with lasers. And so I just said, that seems kind of weird to me, though, because there's been multiple reports of unidentified drones flying over nuclear sites and airports and military sites for days on end. And they shut down a few places temporarily for a few hours, some of the airspace, but they didn't do a 10-day shutdown. And so they set this 10-day shutdown over the airspace of El Paso. And then hours later, they're like, no, we're just joking. They didn't say they were just joking, but they reopened the airspace. So it's really weird how that happened. And Lee says, Rex, this is going to be the biggest story that you've ever reported on. What happened is absolutely insane. And I was like, what happened, Lee? And he says, look, I'm going to tell you in a little while. We're going to talk about it. He says, I'm breaking the story right now in Germany. I'm going to come on your show and tell you exactly what I know. And I said, well, Lee, you got to give me more information than that. I said, like what? He said, let's just put it this way. It has to do with lasers, and it has to do with a laser that was pointed somewhere it shouldn't have been pointed. I was like, wow, okay. So was it like a laser that was shot at the mothership? And he goes, Rex, it's even worse than that. And I'm like, okay. So Lee from KLW World News is going to be on the show in a couple of hours, and he's going to break this intel. He's been on this specific news headline since it broke at like 4 a.m. yesterday morning. Here's what I do know from the news. Now, whether this is real or not, I don't know, but this is what the news has shared with us. So the El Paso flights grounded. The FAA issued a 10-day special security TFR, then reversed quickly. Competing claims involve Cartel drones and a Fort Bliss anti-drone laser testing system. Then let's go back a couple of weeks. Let's look at the news from Arizona Central. 1,500 Mexico National Guard deployed to Sonora border region adjacent to Arizona. That's interesting. Then today, up to 1,500 active duty troops to support the border ops, barriers, logistics, plus aircraft support for deportation flights. Then the Guardian comes out and says the shutdown to reported CBP anti-drone laser use. We're going to talk a little bit about how there might potentially be. Now, this is just a theory of mine, and I could be way off here, But I would not be surprised if adversaries were working with certain cartels for potential hybrid warfare tactics. And that's just something that came to my mind. Could be way wrong there. But what we do know is Mexico is allowing U.S. Navy SEALs to run joint exercises in Mexico from February 15th to April 16th, involving 19 U.S. personnel as well as Mexican naval units. Now, just a bonus article that I'm going to share with you, and I think there needs to be more of these lawsuits. And just my opinion, and I'm not for lawsuits at all, but these ones, I'm like, okay, yeah. So listen to this. The Conagra verdict, a $25 million award tied to alleged lung disease from butter-flavored Pam. You remember that Pam spray? Like extra butter flavor. You just spray it on. Just spray it all over your Forever Chemical pan that has Forever Chemicals in it. It's amazing. Well, they just got sued for $25 million because the guy that sued them claimed that it caused lung damage from the chemicals in the Pam. So way to go, man. And I hope that you can spend that money and have fun spending that money, because health is obviously not worth money, but at least you got some money now. That's just like I think we need to see more of that, because when these big corporations get sued for millions and millions of dollars, it may be a drop in the bucket at first, but if enough people follow suit and enough lawsuits go after these guys that think they can poison the world and get away with it and make money doing it, like, I think that's in the right direction there. But anyway, so let's get into the first article here from the, let me pull this up for you. I'm going to do a screen share here. Oh yeah, quick shout out. So Gladiator Barley, Boomer Boost, cutting edge nutrition. Go to boomerboost.com, click the link specific in the video description box, use the code REX20, get 20% off your order, and set up auto ship, get an extra 10% off your order so you can stack up your discounts. You can always cancel. You probably won't. I've been taking this stuff now for several years. This is like my go-to in nutrition, vitamins, and all sorts. I mean, you could spend an hour just looking at all the different vitamins and minerals and stuff in these things. But just a scoop of the Boomer Boost and the scoop of the Gladiator Barley. I mix it in a little bit of water, drink the water, rock and roll. But like, I'm just going to show you this because the other day, so I have Strava. Like if you keep track of my Strava, you can actually find me on Strava. Just look up Rex Bear, find me on Strava. My numbers are on there. But these were my numbers, Wolf Creek Pass. Have you ever had a chance to go up Wolf Creek Pass? It's a beautiful mountain pass. It's about 10,800 feet elevation. And you start out at about 7,500 feet right outside of Pagosa Springs. And it's about 29 miles approximately round trip. If you start out at the Turkey Springs Road, ride up 14 and a half miles, ride down 14 and a half miles. And with the Zone 2 training that I do, as well as with the right nutrition, like I looked at my numbers from a couple of years ago, and I'm way faster than I was a couple of years ago. And I'm getting faster. So the right nutrition, the right exercise, check out Zone 2 and Boomer Boost, and you'll thank me later. But that's just a quick shameless plug. So now let's get into the latest news here. And I'm also bringing that up because somebody brought up the other day, Rex, you're losing weight. Well, I don't know when the last time you watched the podcast was, but when you ride 100 to 150 miles a week, you tend to stay pretty slim. So anyway, just saying. But check this out. Pentagon disabled cartel drones before FAA closed El Paso airspace. Border officials are said to have caused the El Paso closure by firing an anti-drone laser. Ooh. Well, if that's the case, this is just a few hours ago, what the hell did the laser do? Well, we're going to get more information from Lee here shortly because Lee says he's got information that's just going to blow our freaking minds. So we'll see. And I wouldn't be surprised. Late Wednesday night, the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, issued a temporary flight restriction around El Paso, Texas, saying flights would be grounded for up to 10 days due to special security reasons. Commercial carriers, Southwest, United, American, Delta, were forced to cancel or divert flights. Airports across the region went silent, and within hours, the restriction was abruptly lifted, which is really weird. Air traffic resumed without explanation, and that is extremely rare. Now, at the center of all this is one explosive claim that cartel-linked drones may have breached U.S. airspace near El Paso. That's the narrative circulating among local officials and picked up by multiple news outlets. There's also another more complex explanation that an anti-drone laser system being tested by the DoD near Fort Bliss triggered an FAA safety restriction due to unexpected interference with civilian navigation. Very interesting. Right now, the government hasn't provided a clear, unified answer, and the lack of transparency is definitely fueling speculation. Now, as El Paso scrambled to get flights back in the sky, the Pentagon was already in motion on the ground. Earlier this year, the Department of Defense ordered up to 1,500 active duty troops to the U.S.-Mexico border to support customs and border protection. These soldiers aren't law enforcement, but they're providing helicopter support, constructing barriers, improving surveillance infrastructure, and flying with federal agents in pursuit of smugglers and cartel networks. The troop deployment joins roughly 2,500 National Guard and Reserve forces already in place, marking one of the largest concentrations of federal military assets at the border in decades. This is all happening about the same time. So first they reported they were going to send more troops to the border, like 1,500 National Guard troops to the border, back around the 22nd of January, right around there. And then they reported on it again that they're sending more troops out today. But it's interesting, all this activity with military, border patrol, and the conflict in the Middle East. So, I was thinking about it. I was like, well, Iran would have a very difficult time launching missiles from Iran that could hit the U.S. First of all, it's a long way away, and there's a lot of defense systems in place from there to here. So if they were going to do something, they would have, if they were going to do some serious damage, it would be much easier for them to figure out a way to go through the borders, like sleeper cell type stuff. And I'm wondering if there's intel on the inside that said there could be something going on logistically. Now, once again, this is pure speculation. I'm just thinking out loud here. But what if there were red flags of potential connections between the Iranian regime and certain cartels working together and then bringing in this technology that could be devastating or cause catastrophes here on U.S. soil through the southern border? And I'm just thinking out loud here, but let's go back to what the news is saying about the troop deployment. Nanu. The troop deployment joins roughly 2,500 National Guard and Reserve forces already in place, marking one of the largest concentrations of federal military assets on the border in decades. This buildup is happening at the same moment that Mexico's National Guard moved roughly 1,500 personnel to Sonora. So Mexico's bringing troops in, the U.S. is bringing troops down. Now the 1,500 personnel, the 1,500 Mexico National Guard troops are right across from Arizona. This is intensifying cooperative efforts to stem cross-border trafficking. And this is based on the AZ Central report. These developments set an unmistakable context of heightened alert along the southern frontier. Now, on top of that, man, I'm having a tough time speaking here. Let me drink some more kombucha. Shut up, Beavis. Shut up, buddy. Kombucha is amazing, right? It's my favorite. Anyway, so this is what we know about the Mexican Senate officially authorizing the entry of 19 U.S. Navy SEALs to participate in a joint training exercise from February 15th to April 16th in, how do you pronounce that? Campeche. I'm probably saying that way wrong, huh? Please tell me I'm sorry. English isn't even my first language. This is what we know. The exercise, titled Enhancing Special Operations Forces Capability, is designed to strengthen tactical skills and improve operational compatibility between the U.S. Navy SEALs and Mexico's Naval Special Operations. I just got a message from somebody. Oh, competitive cyclist, upgrade your grip today. Sorry about that. Training will take place at the Mexican Marine Infantry's Specialized Training Center in the San Luis Carpizo and the Naval Sector in right here. The personnel will provide instruction in air mobile operations, maritime maneuvers, infiltration, tactical medicine, and both conventional and unconventional combat. The Mexican Senate approved the measure with 105 votes in favor, but included a mandate for the Mexican Navy to submit a detailed report within 30 days. So, this approval follows a similar mission in early 2025 involving the U.S. Army's 7th Special Forces Group, Green Berets, who also trained Mexican Marine Infantry. While these exercises involve elite U.S. forces, Mexican officials have explicitly stated they do not constitute foreign intervention or a transfer of sovereignty, but are instead strategic partnerships to address shared security concerns like organized crime. Makes sense. So, and this is a step in the right direction, in my opinion. KFF Health News. Conagra must pay $25 million to California man who says cooking spray ruined lungs. At issue with the use of diacetyl as a butter flavoring in Pam spray, Conagra, which says it removed the ingredient from Pam back in 2009, will challenge the ruling. Now, the guy said the damage was already done, and a jury awarded this Los Angeles man $25 million in a lawsuit. So, take that, big corporation. They're like, yeah, it's $25 million. We got that in the cookie jar. That ain't nothing. So, what do you think? So I asked Lee, because he said that this story is so big that it's just going to be like mind blowing. I said, wow. So I said, so it wasn't. He said they pointed the laser where they shouldn't. I said, okay. So they shot a UFO. Is that what they did, Lee? He's like, no, it was way worse than that. And I said, okay. I said, did they use the laser to take out a bunch of cartel members and it like blew up a whole town or something? You know, I'm just thinking out loud, like what could have possibly happened that was so detrimental? And he said, well, no, you'll see. So what do you think happened? What do you think happened? This is wild, right? Like, I think the last time that an airport was shut down for an extensive period of time over potential military was 9/11. Man, these comments are great. A Zeptilian adds shameless plugs in their podcasts. What's up, Naughty Beaver? Good to see you. Mark says Rex is a furry. He wears human skin. Well, I'm not that furry. Huh. I did see a video on Facebook of an unidentified object in the sky, but the video wasn't good enough. And they were claiming in the video that the airspace was shut down shortly after this UFO that was seen over El Paso's airspace. I'm not convinced of that because the video wasn't that good. It was okay. And Lee says it's something totally different. So I have a theory on what it is, which I kind of already said, but he didn't confirm that. So he's going to be on here probably in just a couple of hours. So keep your phone or your computer or your TV with YouTube close by, because sometimes when we go live, people don't get notifications. So just check back at like 5 o'clock and, check back at 4 and then check back at 5, because right around that time, we're going to go live with this information from Lee. You can also see Lee on Rumble. He's on KLW World News. Last year, I went with Lee to Rachel, Nevada, which is outside of Area 51. And we had some F-15s fly over us a couple times, which is pretty cool. He also broke a story on the Sunspot Observatory with me a few years ago. Do you remember that situation at the Sunspot Observatory where they shut the whole town down? They shut the observatory down, and they said it was because of somebody looking at child porn on his work computer. So they shut the whole thing down. And then there were like helicopters flying over the place. And then they claimed that they were with the FBI, and it was just really weird. And then my friend Ransom went out there to go see what was going on because he doesn't live too far from there. And he saw this DVD of X-Files that was thrown in the garbage it was almost like they planted that there in one of the buildings when people were walking around. That whole thing was weird. But allegedly what really happened was there was some type of CCP spies out there using the observatory to track military movement in the White Sands. That's what Lee was claiming. He showed me where they were doing it at the observatory, which is really interesting. So Black Dingo remembers that. Yeah. Hey, Black Dingo, how you doing, man? Black Dingo is commenting on our Rumble page. Much appreciated. And folks, if you do me a favor, and if you'd subscribe to us on Rumble as well, make sure that you're notified here on YouTube. Or, I mean, hopefully they'll notify you, but who knows? If you hit the bell for all notifications, there's a better chance they'll notify you when we go live here on YouTube. But if you also subscribe to Rumble, it's totally free. Check us out on Patreon. And if you could be a Patreon, that helps, me personally. That helps Leak Project continue to pump out these podcasts. So thank you. And leave your comments in the comment section. I want to hear what you have to say. Be excellent to each other. Question everything. I'll see you in a couple hours. Be the change you want to see.